They also even go as far as teaching that we're supposed to hate Esau, but that's not even the theme of the class. We're going to deal with that in another class. But my main point is they teaching that Esau is the white man, and what we aim to prove in this class is that that is not the case as a black person. In fact, we're going to prove that you who claim to be black Hebrew Israelite could indeed, in fact, be Esau. All of that means nothing when you get up to the last captivity of 70 AD. But Genesis 11 and 31, God told Abraham he was going to bless him in the land that he's going to give him. But now skip down to verse 5 and read.
And Abram took Sarah that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came.
So you have Abraham, which archaeologists have proved from digging over in that area, that he was a black man. And we know that Sarah was a black woman. So we got this black couple going into the land of Canaan. Why am I focusing on the skin tone of Abraham? Because it's essential for you understanding what color Esau actually is today. You must look at my wife from where?
Egypt.
So what color was Abraham?
Black.
Black.
Black. What color was Hagar?
Black.
And they gave birth to Ishmael. What color was Ishmael?
Black.
And he ended up marrying an Egyptian. What color are the Egyptians?
They're black too.
So what color would Ishmael seed be?
Black.
Black. All of these people are black. But now, let's take a look at Genesis 25 and verse 20. See, this is essential to understanding what color Esau is. You must look at my wife from where?
Egypt.
So, what color was Abraham?
Black.
Black.
Black. What color was Hagar?
Black.
And they gave birth to Ishmael. What color was Ishmael?
Black.
And he ended up marrying an Egyptian. What color are the Egyptians?
They're black too.
So what color would Ishmael seed be?
Black.
Black. All of these people are black. But now, let's take a look at Genesis 25 and verse 20. See, this is essential to understanding what color Esau is. These people are telling you that Esau is the white man. Esau was not a white man. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to prove that. Genesis 25 and 20. Go ahead and read.
And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife.
And by the way, Rebekah was also black, because she was from the seed of the Syrians, which was another black nation.
2 nations are in thy womb.
She said, 2 nations are in thy womb. This is what God told Rebekah. Go ahead.
And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bounds.
She said, 2 nations are in thy womb. This is what God told Rebekah. Go ahead.
And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bounds.
Read.
And the first came out red, all over like in hairy garments, and they called his name Esau.
Now it said the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. Did it say he came out red and hairy?
No.
No, it does not say that. That's what the black Hebrew Israelites are making it say. It said the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Before we even investigate this, let's go to the Nelson's Quick Reference Bible Dictionary and see what the name Esau means. Look at that first, because this is key to understanding what it meant when it said he was red all over. 132. Go ahead.
Admoni.
Admoni. Right? What does it mean?
Reddish.
Reddish of what?
Of the hair or the complexion.
Now it could mean reddish of the hair or the complexion. So what we need to do is figure out which one it was talking about when it was referring to Esau, right? Because it can refer to either one. Now go to the Nelson's Bible Dictionary and look up the word Esau.
Esau. Hairy.
What does Esau mean?
Hairy.
What?
Hairy.
So they named him Esau, meaning hairy, right? Now when you go back and read Genesis 25 verse 25, it said the first came out red all over like in hairy garment, therefore they called his name Esau. Look at the comparison. It said he came out red like a hairy garment. Can you touch a hairy garment? Can you feel a hairy garment? But can you touch the color red without it being attached to something? Can you do that? If I told you right now to touch the color red, you can't reach out in the mid-air and touch the color red. When I say touch the color red, like I'm wearing this red shirt, then if you touch my shirt, you're touching the color red. So how is the only way in this verse the color only if you're dealing with red hair.
Person's hair.
When it said the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, it's because he was covered with red hair.
And always remember, my brother, one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, knick-knack, paddywhack, get a dog a bone, 2000, 00, party, oops, out of time, my bacon smelling fine.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Recha HaKwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to your other elders, your brethren, your fellow believers of this truth. Shalom to you, few sisters. Shalom to the elect. Peace to the elect. So anyway, I have no idea why the know-it-all prophet just couldn't get to the point. He starts ranting and chanting that, okay, Abraham was black, which he agreed. Hagar was black, which he also agreed. Still, different nations. There was dark nations. Remember, Esau wasn't here. Then he said the Egyptian woman was black, and everybody's black. So then he comes up with, well, they get confused on Genesis 25 and 25. And I'll try to make this short, but you know, you have to go back to the basics every once in a while. So we read this at Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. And that's the key. It's a description of a hairy garment. But he went to one concordance or one definition, and it says either hairy or non-hairy, right? And he's just confused. He's going through different books. When you get a lot of those scholarly books, it's no different than when you go to, let's say, Bible Hub. You will get everybody's different opinions and commentation. But the spirit of the truth is what tells the truth, right? So what I want to do here first is touch on red, just to get that out of the way, because you know that'll be an issue. And the first came out red all over, right? So when we look at this word red, goes to ruddy of Esau as infant. And that terminology is wrong, because you see David in 1 Samuel talk about being ruddy. But here it says red and then ruddy. So why didn't Genesis 25 and 25 say that first came out ruddy? But you know what the scholars did, the people who have trouble translating, they're associated with red with ruddy. And red has nothing to do with ruddy. In fact, ruddy, we're going to show you what that means. And over the, I believe, the 15th century, they turned it to bloody, and then they start naming it red. So when you saw ruddy, you saw bloody. Let's go to some 1 Samuel 17 and 42, right? And when the Philistines looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy, and as fair countenance, right? So fair countenance. So how does recessive, a recessive skin is a fair countenance? So we're going to also prove that as well. But when we go up here, it says he looked, hold on a second. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and despised him. So during the time of the Renaissance, you know, they did the recovering of the faces, reinstituted, re-engineered the images of who the Messiah really looked like, and Apostle Paul and Mark and Luke and everybody else. So they indoctrinated everybody with that white, which nobody was actually white. They knew they were red, right? But they indoctrinated it to make it seem like they were pure. This is why when you go in the store and you'll see angel's food cake is white and devil food cake is brown. Now, the thing about the devil's food cake, when you look at the devil's food cake, it actually is a complexion. Somebody looks like that complexion. because it's not so-called black, right? But then when you look at Angel's Food Cake, you don't see nobody look like that. They just put themselves in that purity, you know? So anyway, let's go on down. The boy was ruddy and handsome. That's what ruddy actually meant. And we're going to scroll through a couple of these to go past ruddy, because quite a them say ruddy, but they actually, here we go, the young man with a healthy complexion. That's all ruddy meant. When you look at the G, I love this translation. I like this translation, God Words Translation. They on point with a lot of that. Healthy complexion. Good News Translation, he was just a nice, good-looking boy. Here we go, the ISV. This sums it up. When the Philistine looked and saw David, he had contempt for him because he was a young man. David had a dark and healthy complexion and was handsome. So it wasn't the fact that he was dark, because everybody was so-called black to the point. But he looked good with that complexion. That's why the Messiah's complexion is mentioned when it talks about his feet is like unto fine brass. No, it's not fine brass. Refined brass is actually dark. Somehow they made brass look like gold, or copper looks like gold, when copper is a tan brown, dark brownish. See how they do? You know, got us all mixed up with colors, right? A lot of us don't study. In fact, you got to go into this to study and understand what words mean. So now that we're through that, red all over like a hairy garment. It says like an hairy garment. It never said he had a hairy garment. So if you go, let me go to a couple. When you go to quite a few of these translations, they see, again, the way it was written, red all over like a hairy garment. This is how metaphors and things is put in place to make a description of something, because when it's unique, it's a description. Like Yahushua, and many around him had brown complexion too, but he had a unique, just like you got Jake in the hood who called himself black. You know? Let's read some Ellicott's commentary. It says there's completely like garment of hair. Words rendering rough garment, where it is used of the jacket or sheepskin worn by the prophets. It appears therefore that Esau's body was entirely covered with red dawn, right, which developed in time into hair as a course that of the kids. So it says here he was covered with red dawn. Do you know what red dawn mean? Red down, Salakia. He was covered with red down. Let's look up red down. Red down means typically indicates a negative change or decrease in something, often seen as ranking of scores or other metrics. It can also represent a damaged or lower quality item in game context. So that's what red down mean. Red down signifies a decrease in rank. Okay. Yep. That's what red down means. So we go to the true biblical usage, Ashashua, and this is what it say. Ashash. It says, where is it at? It says wasted away, to be consumed. Right? That's what it says. Wasted away, to be consumed. And this is what we saw in the commentary when it said red down, right? Something in decrease, waning, decreased, right? Not healthy. So as I read 1 Samuel, when it says he had a healthy complexion, which they said ruddy, this proves that when it's red and down, right, that is an unhealthy complexion. Because you can even have so-called black babies that got a reddish complexion. You know, when I was born kind of light, and I had a reddish complexion. But red down, you know, that's different. No wonder them Edomites over in Vietnam put vinegar and on their bodies to fight the mosquitoes from tearing them up, because they smell the blood, right? Now, today, you got Edomites that might have skin color, right? So not denying that. Anyway, let's move on to some more commentary, right? The Cambridge. Some of them do say different things. I'm just reading certain ones. The objective refers to skin rather than to the hair. Cambridge is pretty good. Cambridge is pretty good. The adjective refers to the skin rather than to the hair, as in the case of David. You see what I'm saying? Who had ruddy hair. It is intended to play the word Edom as if the Edomites were known as the Reds or redskin, or account their warm complexion. They try to soften it up. But we just saw it was red down. The word for hairy contains the play on the word Seir, country of the Edomites. Okay. Let's go up here to, I believe, Exodus 26 and 14. Let's see what it says. Exodus 26:14. And thou shalt make a covering of the tents of rams, skins dyed red, and a covering above the badger's skin, meaning to be tough, if I'm not mistaken. But you can see in Genesis 25, that's why even his own scholars, he looked up and said it could be this or could be that. And that's why they put hairy in there. They were wrong. Absolutely wrong. And that's why when you go into their very own commentaries, they'll tell you Esau, right, means red down. Red down. Wasted. So these are, this was definitely a description, because it was so red that that it had to be compared to something like sheepskin or some badger skin or whatever. So anyway, right here it says the objective refers to the skin rather than to the hair. You know, and this guy didn't have to make a whole big video on that for something that was so simple. But this is what he wanted to do, because his thing is, he does not want Esau to receive the fate that Esau is going to receive. I mean, how dare him do that? And this is another thing I figured out in Genesis 25. Let me go back there. Genesis 25 and 25. We just look at the precepts, and then we can find out Esau, right? Let's go over here to the precepts. Always go to the cross references. Sometimes they're on point, sometimes they're not. But the most point, it's enough of them where you can get the point. Have I loved? This is why this guy hates this. You know what I'm saying? He's like that fake Farrakhan, man. He acts like he loves the Lord. He acts like he knows the truth. But he's got to make up things as he go along. He's got to distort it. Like this man did in that clip with when it came to religion and Islam. He totally went totally against what was taught to him and cooked up some bacon and made up a bunch of phrases. And that's what this guy doing. He's trying to cook you up some pork and throw it in your face, right? So, because what the Bible says about Esau, Matthew 1 and 2, I love you, saith the Lord, but you ask, how have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brothers, declared the Lord? Yet Jacob I love, but Esau I hated. And that's where this phony Farrakhan comes up with, right? So when we can go to Obadiah. This is a cross reference, and we hit Obadiah and read a couple of verses in here. Talks about the thieves that came to thee, the robbers by night. It makes sense when you look at the struggles with the system, right, and us as so-called black people, right? It only makes sense, well, how Esau and his torturous reign and what is done to us, and how even on the bottom we're getting strangled, shot by police. They get no time, right? This is a rivalry between Jacob and Esau. And no, nobody said everybody was going to hell, right? Well, you know, there's no such thing as hell. But yeah, Esau, we're going to show you what's going to happen to Esau, right? Let me go down here. All you got to do is read Obadiah. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Let me go up here. The pride of thy heart. Here you go. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, right? Now, commentators will say it means something else, but again, the prophets that's waking up is going to see this, and they're going to understand what this is talking about. They got something called GOD, called Global Orbiting Device, which is going to hit that MOTB mark, right? Thence, because you're going to have towers, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Exalt thyself in the eagle. Although Babylon had it, right? Various other empires had it. Even Egypt has something dealing with the eagle. But every great power that comes into play. So we see that this is another example of an eagle, and the new age, what we see today, and what they see with the satellites. I mean, with the setting their nest amongst the stars, space stations, they got all of that, man. You know, the race to outer space. Let me go on down to the point I want to get to. Who's going to hell? Right? Let's go to verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, but the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. For the Lord hath spoken it. So the Lord's going to torch them, right? And rightfully so. Proverbs 29 tells you, when a wicked beareth rule, the people are mourning. And what people? The Israelites. Other nations, they may be mourning, but they ain't mourning like us, right? We're the ones on the bottom. And even ones that's excelling now, they're still under the thumb of Esau. So the process of elimination, looking at Deuteronomy 28, with the yokes of iron around their neck, no, that's not goddamn Arabs. Although they had a hand in that, but who funded it and who brought our black asses over here into the transatlantic slave? Who did that? And who put that hell and torture on us? Right? Besides the Arabs, so-called Arabs. Ultimately bring on the Middle Passage, brought over here and full bondage. And even to this day, still oppressing us. Who did that? I mean, the process of elimination, you can't see it, then you keep living your delusion, right? Like this Farrakhan, you know what I'm saying? That's all I have on that. Shalom.